Ready? Here we go.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind, drown out the noise, and see if this connected. And see if this connected.
What's up, fam? The mission of this Connected podcast is to connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way. To not necessarily agree, but be listened to. These conversations, of course, highlight the perspective of our various guests, and you are always welcome to agree or even disagree. But as always, we hope that it is done in charity. Now, here's your host, Catholic.Dad.
Welcome back to another episode of this Connected podcast. Thank you, Tony, again for doing that intro. By the way, the intro is pre-recorded. But Tony has an amazing intro. If you haven't listened to the podcast, listen to it again. So on this episode, we have passed that series about marriage, family, and life, where we talk to married couples who are living out their faith. And we've moved on to our series on how-to series. And we're going to do a series on how to do things as Catholics. And this episode, we bring you to a special place, a place that I don't have at my own parish, so I'm a little jealous right there. But we bring you to a young adult ministry that I've been following, actually stalking, for a long time. And they finally relented and responded because I sicked their pastor on them, Father Manny, who I know went to Anthony and said, "How come you're not responding to our now?" So now we have a youth ministry, a young adult ministry, 412, at Our Lady of Hope Faith Community, because you have two places, two churches that you have. I don't know what the names of the churches are, but you have one here and another campus on Valencia. Mm-hmm. So that is amazing that you have two communities that join as one. So you serve both of those. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about your young adult ministry. What is it like? What is it about? Because if you guys follow 412, and if you're not following 412, I don't know what you're doing with your life. So if you look at them, and they do these crazy things like paint nights and volleyball tournaments and these crazy things. And it's like, wow, I want to do that. And then my daughter says, "But Dad, you're not a young adult." It's like, but I could pretend to be a young adult. But you guys do all of that. And so I want you to tell our community out there, our listeners, how did you become 412? First of all, where did you come up with that name? What's your story? That's what we want to hear. What's your story? And then we'll pick at the questions later. So first of all, introduce yourselves, and then you can throw the person who's the leader, under the bus and, blame them for everything. So first of all, let's start on my right. Introduce yourself and just tell us about your ministry.
I guess I'll start.
Your mic is right there. Just bring it to you.
Okay, my name is Monserrat, but Monse for short. I've been with 412, I want to say 3 years. And what do I do? I have faith formation, and I do faith formation, and also I always like seeing when young adults have questions on certain topics. Mm-hmm. I have those questions too, and then we ask somebody to come and talk to us about it, and we make it happen. So sometimes I just like talking to the people and see what kind of questions they have. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, I'm Anthony. 412 since the beginning of it and just the roots of it and coming up with it. So been here for however long it's been up. I think it's been up for 2 years now. 2020, right before the pandemic was our opening time, and we got put on hold with the pandemic, of course. But we're back up. So
it's that It's that toddler year now.
Yeah, we're in our twos right now.
You guys are walking.
We're in our terrible twos. Terrifying.
Terrifying twos.
Yeah. So.
My name's Arturo. Also been here since the beginning, pretty much. And yeah, pretty much it.
Arturo's man, a few words.
He's the one that comes up with the names.
Oh, yeah. Creative one.
He
has the brain.
He's the quiet one, but he's our slogan guy.
Wow, it has the shirt. Summer nights. And there's a theme going on here with wearing black.
Yeah, we tell them to communicate.
Except for Mother Mary over here.
Alrighty. My name is Susie. I don't know if you can hear it. My name is Susie. I've been with the group for about a year now. I had been participating before, and I really wanted to join. So I remember like sitting down at a dinner and telling them like, "Can I be part of it? I really want to be part of the leadership." And they're like, "Okay, we'll see. Like if you can."
What?
I'm just kidding. But they were really welcoming. So it's been a year now, and really, really fun, really exciting.
Okay, was there something wrong with you? The reason why they wouldn't accept you?
No, I was just playing. We were just at a dinner and I was like, I really want to join. And they're like, okay, yeah, like we're starting back up, after pandemic. So, yeah.
What made you want to join?
I think the home feeling, just feeling like it was home. I didn't feel like out of place or unwelcomed.
Uh-huh.
It was always like, yeah, come on, let's do it. Like, yeah, let's go here, let's go there. Like, yeah.
Now, did you know them beforehand, or you just saw them like around the?
No,
they were the
I
cool
didn't.
kids in church.
They are the cool kids in church. They're my family, so
Okay.
yeah, that helped too. Yeah.
My turn.
Bring it closer.
Closer?
Yeah.
All right, so my name is Tanya. I started when it started too. 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago. I remember my sister. Mons is my sister, by the way.
No.
They say we look like twins, but I don't know. But I remember when starting, she asked me, "You want to be part of it?" And because I'm really quiet and reserved, so for me, I was like thinking about it, and I told myself, you know what? I gotta get out there. I gotta go back to my community, back to the church. There's not a lot of young adults, and maybe we start something we can, I don't know, attract young adults. And then that's how I started. Starting.
Wow. Okay, Mary.
Okay.
The only one
This
in
one
blue,
for
by the
last.
way. She didn't get the memo.
I did not get the memo. My name is Lety. Well, Leticia, but I go by Lety. I was the last person to join the leadership. I think I joined maybe like 8 months ago. So kind of fitting that I'm the last person to introduce myself, and that I have. I'm always getting late to the table, but I would go to the events like just as a member. But I think I missed like being a part of the organization and being a part of like who gets to decide what we put on. So then I was like, okay, who am I kidding? I need to actually like do the work and join the leadership. So same thing as that's my sister Susie. And so I was kind of like, okay, I want to join like officially the leadership board. And then they told me that I had to do an initiation. I was gonna be hazed.
Hazy? Catholic hazy?
But I'm still waiting on it. So yeah.
Just like you have to pray the rosary for each and every one of us for the entire week.
Yeah.
On your knees.
I know, I'm on the probationary period.
Every time we commit a
Negative points with the
sin.
shirt.
Letty's like, me. So, guys, what is it that 412 does? What is it that you do that inspires people to join, to allow you to grow? I mean, what is it that you do that's different from other young adult ministries out there? What do you think it is?
Good question. Go ahead, Anthony.
I'd say it's definitely. This is how I view it. I think we have an aesthetic to us, and just like the way we brand our ministry. I think that was like something that we talked a lot about when we first started, was bringing modern young adult aesthetic vibes and feelings, the way young adults are seeing social media right now, the way things are looking attractive to young adult crowds. So our aesthetic played a really big part in it, just the way like our social media looks and the way we kind of brand 412 in general, and then mixing faith with that and mixing the want and the need to know more about Catholicism, but really making it modern and attractive to the everyday young adult that's out there. And so I think our aesthetic plays a really big part in what makes 412.
Anybody else?
I think also with that in mind, like the young adult groups, the young adult people here in our church, we're very all grew up together, but we kind of saw each other like the spurs go away, but we still kind of stayed connected. And I think during our World Youth Day, we noticed how everybody had a lot of questions on certain things about Catholic teachings, and there's always questions, but not a lot of answers. So I think we were very, I think we did a good job listening to those questions and what did they need at the moment, and we would talk to our priests, and like I think Father does a really good job in connecting us to other people who know about the topics more like in depth, and they come and talk to us, and they're very energetic, and they have a lot of wisdom. And they tell us, like, you can also learn more with this book, with that. And everybody who comes, they're like, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. And then, like, recently, I think the best one we had was Brain on Prayer. And there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of people who came and they were asking, like, but what about this and this? And at first, I was like, ooh, it's going to get a little spicy. But our presenter, she was really well-spoken, and she had a lot of like experience, and
it was Dr.
Amanda.
Yeah. Wonderful CMF. She's in charge of MFI, Ministry Formation Institute.
And she just knew everything. We were asking those tough questions. She goes,
and she's a convert.
Yeah.
Love that about her.
Yeah, she was good.
She was good, yeah.
I think it's just those topics that we all kind of want, like we all want to be there. Like we're not going to put something out there that we're not going to want to be sitting for a long time. So I think that's also it.
And I love what you said there. I'm not going to put on something that I wouldn't go to. Because then it's just like the people who come like, what is this? It's like, if you wouldn't go to it, then why would I want to? And I love what you said about aesthetics. Because you're meeting the young people where they're at. And I'm always about talking about, we are not invitational at all in the Catholic Church, you know. Even when you go, it's like you go into mass and then there's the usher. It's like, how did that person become the usher? It's more like a security guard, you know, don't come in. Yeah. It's like no smile, no welcome, you know. It's like, you know, it's like you have that bitter look. It's like, but you exactly right there. That aesthetic look is inviting. And that is hospitality. And I love the fact that you looked at that and said, and you guys addressed that and said, we need to make sure that our brand is invitational. And so if no one ever told you that, it's like, that is probably one of those things when we look down, it's like, oh, that looks super cool because it is inviting. I want to go there. And then when you come, then you actually experience the actual human invitation. So that's beautiful. So tip number 1, your brand, aesthetics, marketing. By the way, who's a marketing person here?
She's not here.
She's not here. That's actually Mariela. Mariela is like our social. She's what makes our social media look pretty and and nice and stuff. She's very good at the graphic design work and all that. So she's awesome.
Now you mentioned World Youth Day in Panama, and you guys went, right?
Them 3, not us.
Them 3. Yeah. So only the 3 of you went from this parish, right?
No, we were actually 33.
Wait. 33 people. Let me do the math. 33 people. The cost to go to Panama for World Youth Day was $3,500 or so.
We didn't pay that.
That's a lot of money.
It was about around $100,000 that we needed to raise just for 33 people to go to World Youth Day.
Well, I thought I was at Our Lady of Hope.
Yeah,
Is it St. Paul?
This is Our Lady of Hope, the San Bernardino.
Our Lady of Hope, San Bernardino. You guys sent the most number of representatives from our diocese to World Youth Day. We sent 0. Couldn't afford it. But how did you manage to do that? Like, you said a lot of hard work, but that's just, to me, that's a minor miracle to be able to raise over $100,000 to send young people to World Youth Day. That you know how older people like me will look at young people and say, why would we want to waste $100,000 on these people? It's like we could use that $100,000 to renovate the new church, right? It's like, so what caused them to invest in you guys, and why do you think they felt, oh, we need to invest in these young people?
Well, I think Father Manny did a good job in kind of advocating for the youth. He said, we're gonna do it. And a lot of us were like, it looks a little bit impossible, but he really had his mindset that we're gonna send 32 children to World Youth Day. And all of the ones who went were like from the community, like they grew up in the church. So when they saw us in church, like these are the ones who were going, they were like, oh yeah, we know them. So, and we had to be at the festivals that Anthony and Mariela had put together, and then we had to be there, fundraise, meet, and I think they just saw a lot of us being in church more often than usual. So they were probably like, maybe this is something good for the community. So I think, and then we got sponsors too.
Yeah.
We got a lot of sponsors.
Well, just jumping off of like what Monsa said, I think the beautiful thing about World Youth Day was it was a lot of young people that grew up in our parish. And so when our community seen similar, like, recognizable faces, right? It was almost like we were a big number. We were 33. So it was like a movement almost, and it was just this constant young group that was at everything. We fundraised everything. And going back, like Father Manny did a really good job at just advocating for our program. So like every parish festival, anything was just shifted, all funds were going to World Youth Day.
Yeah,
and so that kind of put pressure on us to make sure we were at every single thing that the church was having. One, to raise money, of course, and two, just to acknowledge the help that we're getting and show that we're present and we're grateful and thankful for the help that the community is giving us. We did get a lot of sponsorships within our community of San Bernardino. People were just donating. They wanted to help out. And so it was possible one way or another. I mean, we made it. We were there.
That is an amazing story. I'm so sorry that you guys.
They want to go this
Trying to go this year.
They're like, oh, we want to go to Portugal.
If you want to sponsor, contact us after.
Contact 412.
Email 412 after this podcast.
Connect us to a sponsor.
All right. Our DM at 412
Young adults.
If you like to sponsor us.
Definitely, that is a need. Because that inspired you to continue. I'm assuming that after World Youth Day, the Pope must have said something that inspired you to do all of this, because you did this in 2 years, right? Your young adult ministry, 412, is relatively new. Well, you guys are new. You're almost 2 years old. You're almost walking, and you're almost potty trained. But you guys got inspired, and so who instigated and said, hey, you know what? Let's do a young adult ministry. Like, how did that get inspired? How did that start? Did you just come back from World Youth Day and said, this is it?
Maybe if we can backtrack a little bit to where you were saying what with the Pope, like maybe what he had said. I know I mentioned this in a couple like youth forums, or when there's an audience where they're like, why the youth? Why why should we pay attention to them? Why should we invest in them? Things like this. And one of the things he said, I know Father Manny has said it as well, is that the youth aren't the future, they're the now. And I think that telling the community that, and it didn't really take much to convince them, because then once they saw that we were being a part of events, once they saw we were actually there, they were happy to see us fundraising. We would be, one event that we had, selling roses at 3-4 in the morning for the Day of the Virgin Mary. And they were happy to buy from us. They were a little expensive, because we had to, make money, but they, gladly bought us out.
They pull out the money and they're like,
Where's my change?
Wouldn't let go of the bill.
Like, thank you for your donation.
We don't have any more change.
But it didn't really take much convincing once they saw us, around, and even afterwards, we made a lot of new connections within the same community, like older people that you wouldn't really talk to. Like now you see them and you're like, oh hi, how are you doing? And they gave you a helping hand, or they even helped you go to the World Youth Day. So I think one of the main reasons why we continued was because that was really put onto us, was that the youth aren't the future, they're the now, and we're the ones that are the youth have always been the change in anything, in any movement, politically, in the church, for anything. It's always the youth. So I think that's one of the main ones, is that we are the ones that are not only going to inherit but still moving things forward. Is one of the main things. Yeah.
I love what you said there, because you are the now, and the whole premise of church is that the youth and young adults are over here, and this is where the church is, where the adults are. But you guys are transforming that and said, no, we're here, we're with you, we're inside the church. And I think that's what you're building. I think that's what we need to change within our church, is that we need to stop becoming silos of ministries and become just one church. Because in your event of going to World Youth Day, you didn't do that. Your community did that.
That's true.
And that investment from that person, that old lady, she went with you. Right? Yeah. She went with you because she was like, I bought a rose. I sent them.
It's so funny that you say that, because we remember this lady. I wish Marita was here. She every day after mass, when she would see us out there selling something, or even if we just had a table with information, she was an older lady, and she would get out of mass, and she would have her purse, her little bag, right? Her hand. She's, let me see if I have enough for my breakfast first, and then she would get her change. She's like, I have $5 or $10. She always had to make sure she had enough for her breakfast right after mass, but she always gave something, and it was like the sweetest thing ever. Just to see her like, what are you guys out here for today? But that was so nice of her just to do that.
Yeah, and then when we came back, they really wanted to know our experience. They had us give testimonies after mass, because Father Manny was like, "Hey, they want to hear about how it went." And we were like, "Okay," and then we were there, and they were like really hearing our story. And then they'll stop us after mass, and you went right? And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "How'd it go? What did you do?" Like they were like, "Let me hug you," because I just saw the Pope. Let me hug you. I was like, I didn't really touch him, but
she's a relic.
And then,
She smelled the aroma.
She was that close.
I just think overall,
the community was excited.
Yeah. And then we were excited too, because I think a lot of us came back. It's funny because we have group chat. There's 33 of us, and we're so used to being around each other for 2 years consistently. And I remember, I don't know if you remember in the group chat when we came back from World Youth Day, a lot of us does anybody feel a little depressed? A little sad, that it kind of feels like it's over, right, in a sense. And so I think a lot of us stayed with the question of what's next? And I think that's what hit, and that's what really motivated us to move and find what's next. And we didn't have a young adult ministry here at our parish, and I think that we were all entering this young adult age, and we were like, what's next?
Yeah, there's always been youth groups, but then we go out of it, and then we're like,
it's gone.
Yeah, where do you go?
Yeah, do we join the adults?
It's like, no.
Con las señoras.
Yeah, señoras, church ladies, we come.
You put on your velo and it's like you grab your rosary. It's like join the group. But 33, what a great number. 33. It took you 2 years to prepare, and then 1 year to get this started. The 3 years that Jesus walked with his disciples, and now you guys are in Acts. That's so weird how that just goes in action. It's amazing of what you guys have done. And I just want to add to that in every single ministry that has succeeded, it's supported by little old ladies who give their last dollar, after they get their breakfast money. Right. But here's what I want to say to people who are listening. Maybe you guys know this, or maybe you don't. But young people allow older people to live through you vicariously. Because that lady might not be able to take that long trip to go there, or to know that she can't march and walk and go, but she got to go through you. And that's why it's so important with those testimonies, is when you share and you continually share and you continually thank them, that they're like, yeah, I was there with you because I was praying for you. I think that's the most beautiful thing, is when older people, more mature, so our older listeners, not to offend, more wisdom, is I bet you while you guys were there, that the Santissimo was always full. Like there was always people probably praying for you while you guys were over there. And that's what's beautiful. You know, that you allowed people to have someone to pray for. You know, and so that is what I see as community. The beauty of community is that you're not silos. Oh, we're the youth, we're going. You guys, the old people, stay behind. It's like, no, you guys got to take them with you. So was that the experience? Was that the feeling that you got when you got back? Everyone was like, so tell us. So how was it? Like, got these three jealous. It's
It was cool though, because some of the community members gave us like little bracelets to take so that we could trade for them. So when we came back, we gave them what they got in trade. Like I remember telling like people like, hey, if you want something, give me something right now and I'll trade it, and whatever they trade me, that's yours. I won't keep it, I promise. Someone got something really cool and I was like, I want to keep it. But I was like, this is yours.
It's like, I'll just go to confession.
Yeah, it was just nice. But it was not just this community, because the community we went to Costa Rica for the diocese, and they told us they were praying for us the week before we arrived. So it was just a lot of prayer.
It was a lot of prayer.
So
prayer from every direction.
That's a lot of learning. Now you guys didn't get to go.
No.
I'm not trying to rub it in. But why didn't you guys get to go?
Well, my two sisters went, and I remember they were telling me, but I think I had school, and then my other sister was like, I do too, I'm missing. But I couldn't miss because that was one class that I really needed, and I just couldn't, and I do regret it, but I'll probably get to go next year.
There's more. There's the one in Fatima, or close to Fatima. So that's going to be beautiful. So I do have something written in here. It's like, what inspired you to start this? But I want to touch base and go back into your community, of your church and your young adult community. My community is an all volunteer, mostly Hispanic, mostly immigrant community. Is your community similar to that? And what is your community like? For those people who don't know San Bernardino, who doesn't know this parish, who doesn't know 412, when I looked at your 412, nothing against this, and I'm not trying to. I thought it was a white young adult ministry, and then I saw you guys post like, oh my goodness, they're all brown. I was like, this is a brown ministry. So, what is your community like? What's the demographics of your community?
That's what you just said. Your community is like, we're a low income community in San Bernardino. Very high presence of Latino community. A lot of immigrants here in our community. I know my parent is an immigrant. I know some of ours are immigrated to this country.
First generation
college students.
We also have the Vietnamese community.
We have a Vietnamese community. We're a trilingual community.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have, I think the little motto is like three communities, 2 sites, 1 church.
Oh.
It's the Vietnamese, Spanish, English, and then the Rosa Valencia, and then the 1 church. The Catholic Church.
One body.
3.
Yeah.
3. Wow, that's super cool. And so, you said predominantly immigrant community, first generation going to college. How do you see your outreach to young adults? Is it your outreach to young adults all? With many a times when we see young adult ministries, it's a bunch of college students who get together, and they're all college students. And the ones who aren't going to college feel left out. Are you feeling that, or how are you reaching out to the entire community? Or is it just, where I always see young adult ministries that form, they're good for about 2-3 years, and then the young adults graduate university, and then they move on and develop their own lives, and then there goes the young adult ministry. So how is yours, and how do you project that this is going to outlast your college years?
Well, I'm not in my college years.
We're all graduated.
What?
Or almost.
I think we have what
Diverse.
is a really
wide
good foundation
range.
is we have a really wide range of a leadership team just to begin with. Some of us are in college, some of us are out of college, so it just really depends.
I think it's just like the big range, like you were saying, some on the group are like graduated and like have their careers already, and some of us don't. Well, I dropped out of college, like during the pandemic. I might go back, I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just it's a big, like a wide range of young adults that we have. Like it's just not, it's not just college students or like one age group. It's just, I think what's the youth age, like 39?
39.
I think we have the
So
entire range
married.
from 39 to 18
Yeah, we do.
that join our event.
That's super cool.
We have the teens, the
Yeah.
20s, and the 30s.
I think we had one.
Yeah, 39.
We have people that are pretending to be 39.
This is so good.
Hey.
We had one member that she was sad. She's like, I'm sad. We're like, why? She's like, because I won't be here anymore. We're like, but why? She's like, because tomorrow will be 40.
Just like we have people pretending they're younger, we have some that are pretending they're older.
Yeah.
And wants to already be part of it. And I think that's also one of the things, like how we're gonna keep going is we already include the young adult, the younger ministries in like our events and we like help them volunteer. We give them like opportunities to come in and help us out. So we're just kind of already starting that mentorship and like letting them know, hey, you can do this too. And then just continuing down the line. I don't know what we're gonna join after we're 39.
What comes after?
We make podcasts.
We have to go into
You gotta start a 412 podcast. Which I'm amazed that you guys don't already have a 412 podcast. But I actually think there is already a 412 podcast name. Yeah. When we were looking at podcast names, when I was looking at podcast names, I was like, why is everything taken?
You should trademark.
I know.
You should. You better, buy the rights already. One day you'll sell it. So, going back to and by the way, you're supposed to be the silent one. It's like this side is like totally silent. It's like, so what do you guys have to say about this group that you actually joined later on and missed out on some things?
I actually wanted to add for the last question you had. I think the range of our events is so broad. Like we'll literally go from like volleyball and sports, to like painting and wine to like a psychological talk on mental health. So it's like even if you're not in college or just like academia is not your thing, like there's something that's gonna get your attention. Just because our group itself is so like well-rounded and diverse, like people. That it's like we get excited about what we do because it's kind of aligned with all of our different interests. So I think for the community or like the young adults out there, like hopefully they'll find something that's interesting to them, like one of our events. And I think we're also really receptive to feedback. Like we're always like, what do you guys want us to put on? Like what kind of events do you want to see?
Yeah.
Kind of welcoming that. So hopefully even if one event doesn't grab their attention, like we'll be able to put on something else that does.
And even we were talking about that last time as well. Not even just in the age, we're like a wide difference in age range, but also in our personalities. And I feel like it clicks. We all have such a unique, different personality, but it clicks. So like, Monse was the one that thought of a volleyball, and we're all like, wow, we're not really sporty, we don't really play, but like, let's do it. Like we're all supporting that idea. And then like Anthony will have one, and we're like, all right, like let's see how it's gonna go, and we all support that. So I feel like we all have a different range of personalities ourselves that kind of connect with one way or another, I guess, with like the young people.
We balance each other very well. You should see our meetings, like when we're planning stuff, because we go back and forth on so many things. So have like one idea.
Scratch it.
And then they'll be like, oh, but I like this. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't do this. And they're like, yeah, but it does this. I'm like, no, but it doesn't do this. And so we're really good at just like balancing each other, compromising, pulling from here, pulling from there, and really mixing our thoughts and our ideas to make what we do have. I think that's like the really good thing. We're very diverse in our, and like the talents that we bring, and also the like Susie says, our personalities. So much ties in, and it's really because we're all so different, but we click so well. So
And I think also goes back to like the whole like the leadership team we have. There's not one leader per se. Like we all, like how Susie was saying, one person has an idea, we talk about it and we support that person in their idea. Or there's not one person that has like the final say, like, oh no, I don't want this, it's not gonna happen, and then the whole team's like, oh okay, let's think of something else. It's all we all kind of support off each other, and how do you think it all just balances out. It all works together.
I think I see a trend here that your young adult ministry wasn't a young adult ministry that one person came up and said, hey, we're going to start a young adult ministry, and then went and seeked out other people to be part of the team. You were a team already that said, hey, let's just become a young adult ministry and build from there, right? And what I think that's beautiful about that is that you guys were already a small group faith community that knew each other and wanted to invest on each other, and then wanted to share that with other people in your community, the joys that you had. And maybe that's your success, is that. So my question is, how do you continue to create those young adult communities? How do you create that faith community? Because this is always, when I study these things and look at this, there's always this nagging question with youth ministry, young adult ministry. There's always this question after, where are they now? And so where are most of our young adults after they've become so excited about faith, and then they go into the world, they go into university, they go into the secular world, and all of a sudden their faith diminishes and you hardly see them at Mass. And so my actual question is, how do you engage your community, your young adult community, to come to Mass? Because in a way, it's easy to try to get them to come to your young adult ministry because, hey, it's cool. But does that translate to them living out faith and becoming disciples? And so do you see something that's trending there, or what are you doing different that creates them to, hey, you know what? I love the Mass too, and I love 412, and it's really guiding me to fall in love with the Mass. Or is it, or do you see yourself trending towards, hey, it's a good club?
Good question.
Well, I know we have our Bible camp for the kids, right? And then we usually seek out people from 412 to be teachers for the students. And I think that's when we take advantage and catechize about like certain things that they should be knowing. For example, our first year, I think we talked about why is Mass boring. That was the topic. And one of the seminarians, Thomas, one who was here, he gave a talk on like explaining the Mass. And from there, we all had questions, and we kind of fell more in love with Mass. And I think things like that we kind of put responsibilities to the members on, like, if you're going to be doing something like teaching your faith, you have to make sure you know your faith and that you're actually practicing your faith. Because we do a lot of events where it's like, oh, fun, and we learn about our faith, but are they actually doing it on their own? We don't know. But it's until we do like an event where we have to rely on them to help us make an event happen. That's when we learn, like, oh yeah, they know their faith. Like, we know that they know what they're talking about. And sometimes we see that and we're like, hey, maybe they should join our leadership board, And I think that's the beauty about like how many diverse activities that we have, that we can see that. Because we do enjoy the fun moments, and we do enjoy those very like nights where we're just asking those hard questions, and we also enjoy when we have to like be responsible and teach the little kids about the faith, because we get to see what we need as a group. But I think it's just that, like, making big events where it's not for us but for others, and that's when we get to see like we have something to offer to the community with our faith. And if we can't make that happen, that's saying that. Yeah. That's saying something. Like, if we ask the young adults, oh, can you guys help us teach? And they're like, oh, we don't know. And we're like, oh, okay, then we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So how do you guys get fed? How do you guys feed each other? Because sometimes, a lot of times in ministry, we serve, and we become overwhelmed, and then all of a sudden we're burnt out. So how do you guys look at prevention of burnout, and how do you feed each other? How do you keep each other? I think we mentioned accountability. How do you keep each other accountable in faith and in life? And I think that's what's important with young adult ministry is it's not like youth ministry where it's like almost confirmation, where they have to go. You guys don't have to go. You don't have to come, but you're here. So how are you being fed, and why are you here? I mean, it's a Friday night, people. It's like, why are you here talking to an old man? It's like, Anthony made me. He said there were going to be coffee in these cups.
They couldn't see that.
Nobody had taken it.
I know.
It's like beautiful cups of coffee, by the way. Yeah, it's like, see, it says love is patient, love is kind, Corinthians. But, oops, almost spilled the cup. Yeah, so how do you guys get fed? How do you feed each other? I mean, what are you things that you do together?
I think, to be completely transparent, at least from when I've joined the group, I think we're barely getting to that stage where we're like, oh, we probably need to slow down. Like, we probably need to have a balance. Like, I know we've been like kind of, throwing it out there, like we should have just a retreat for us, like so we can grow in faith. Yes. So I think it's kind of like we're still learning, we're still going through that process. And in terms of like why we're here, or how do we like feed ourselves besides like, our own personal growth and like mass and prayer and listening to podcasts or worship music. I think just fellowship. Like whenever I come to meeting, I'm like, okay, I just came from work and the gym, and then I come, and then it's like I have like an hour and a half of fun. Even though we're planning, like it's just you enjoy like spending time with, the people you're with. And even though I feel like we see each other a lot, like it's still always like it's always a good time, even to the point where we're like, let's go out to eat after, and we're like, okay, we haven't had enough of each other. We still want to spend more time together. So I think just we feed off of each other's positive energy. So that kind of like is always inviting. Like it's not a drag to come, to events or to go to different things because you enjoy it.
I love that transparency.
I was just going to say that. Transparency.
I love that because we need to get rid of the stigma that ministry is going and then feeding yourselves is, we go to mass and we pray the rosary. That's because you'll get that answer all the time. So how do you guys? Every Friday night we pray the rosary together, and everyone gets a turn to lead, and then we go and kneel in front of the Blessed Sacrament. That's how we. No. Ministry is exactly what you just said. How do we feed each other? Being present. Yeah, I always look at that. It's like if this was Jesus and his disciples, I guarantee you they were just cracking dad jokes, Father God jokes, and they were having fun. They were present with each other, listening to each other's stories, right? Mainly Jesus stories, and then Peter making a wrong mistake and John correcting him, so you're stupid.
I ran faster than you.
Yeah, I run faster than you. It's like, yeah, but I'm old. But that's the beauty of what you guys are doing. What you just said is we go out to eat, because there are many ministries that come, gather, plan, and then they go home. See ya.
Yeah, just see how long it takes for us to say goodbye to each other.
There's like 5 stages of saying goodbye.
Saying goodbye.
Many bus stops.
I do like your transparency though, because I think that's really important that like we even have that's even mentioned is the fact that like we as a ministry are still learning how to feed ourselves with our own faith as well, because even August was like a slow month for us, and I think that was intentionally put there.
Missed you guys, by the way.
I know. We missed actually, this is like awesome because we haven't seen each other.
We haven't seen each other in
August, right? But August, Father David, right? He was telling us, he's like, think you guys need a break.
That's what I said. You guys, no break for young adults, no break.
Yeah, in
and
the
then one day
beginning,
he's like, maybe you guys should take a break. Thank you, Father.
Yeah. So the break has been great. So August, right? We're on a break, right? We haven't had any meetings, and we haven't had any events actually in August.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is the answer either, right? To to feed, and that's not feeding ourselves, right? We just needed a little break, right? But I think we're all eager to come back in September because we have some things in mind. But I think that is something that we as young adults need to talk more about, is how to, especially a leadership team or a core team, how to feed yourselves, how to feed your members, because we come out of things and we were energetic and so happy that we did them, but then it's like, man, we're tired, or like we need a little bit of that. We need our cup of faith filled too sometimes, you know, and we still are learning how to do that ourselves, I think. So any tips?
Exactly what she just did.
Yeah.
Is being transparent and sharing, and telling someone, hey, I think we need a break. And listening to that, and because that's the Holy Spirit speaking through someone that says, if one courageous soul says I need a break, then probably there's another less courageous soul that says we need a break. And that's how, you know, that's what you call retreat.
Yeah.
You know, people always say, "Oh, retreat so we can be filled." No, it's retreat so you can rest. So you can rest. Retreat. You can be Mary and sit at the foot of Jesus. You don't have to always be Martha. And I think that's what ministry is. A lot of times people expect you to be Martha, 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 and you just want to be Mary, 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 and you know, wearing blue. Just want to mention, there's this one person here who's not wearing the right color. They haven't added her to the group chat.
And it's not planned, okay?
I know.
It's not planned.
She doesn't completely has the vibes.
I have black pants.
She's on probation.
So what's in store for the future for 412?
Portugal 2023.
Hopefully.
Well, I know we were all talking about more like, because we go all out on our events. I don't know if you have noticed. Like right here, for example.
By the way, I'll pause. If you guys are only listening to the podcast on audio, you need to come to our YouTube channel, Disconnected on YouTube, and check out the layout. I brought my cloth. And these guys have a candle, succulent plants, Pope Francis. You got all the other, Padre Pio. And they got cups. They got cups that need to be filled, like her soul. And it's like they're all set. They got their logo here, 412. I'm like, when we do this, we did this with Father Ivan Tomas. It was just a table. We go to Father Alex, and it's just a table. It's like, but you guys laid it out. The aesthetics is like, we gotta take a picture of this. Maybe this will be one of ours.
The extraness is a must.
It's
a must.
It's so extra, but it's good.
Yeah. Want to see your Legos? Go to 412.
Instagram. At 412. No, it's fun, to be honest, because I feel like sometimes I'm always a crazy one that's like, we need something, right? Like, we need something.
Especially at the door. Like, Susie.
Me and Susie bounce off each other. So like, we need lights. We need something. But as extra as it is, it adds an element of fun.
It makes it official,
yeah. And I think people appreciate it because it's like, wow.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so Catholic.
Yeah.
It is so Catholic.
Makes you want to pray when you're walking by a little table. You're like, oh, say JP too.
Like, you enter a church, and it tells a story. And it's a welcoming church because it has pictures of all our family, the saints, and it has stained glass windows. Nothing against our Protestant brothers and sisters who listen to the podcast, but you go to a Protestant church, it's plain, white walls, and nice pews. It's clean, but it's pretty plain. But this is like church. It tells a story. It tells your story and what's important to you guys. So I really appreciate that, because I was like, A little intimidated. It's like, what are we doing?
But that's what we do in all our events. We kind of go all out, and we always tell each other, like, we did it again. This is what we're trying.
We said it was going to be small.
We said it was going to be simple and small, but
We were supposed to
go
have
all out.
adoration night. And then we were like, we gotta add a little something. we just added paletas. Praise and
I
paletas.
saw that. Praise and paletas. I was like,
We learned like 2 different prayers before we went to adoration, so they know what to do when they were adoration. So it's just like we always try to add and add and add.
Yeah. And
There was lights on
the
his
paletas,
face.
right? Yeah,
On the
so
carrito.
first we're like adoration. Then we're like, let's add 2 prayers before adoration. And I was like, no, we need ice cream now. Like, okay, no. But what if we put the ice cream in a nice little ice cream cart, right? And they're like, well, don't we need lights? And so it's just always something. It's always something.
Yeah.
there's just the joy in that conversation. It's like you guys need to record that. Kind of like have your own, where you just record your process of how to get to an event. Don't even show the event. Don't even show the event. Just the process of getting to the event. I think people would just like, wow, that is so cool. Let me watch some more. But if you ever do that, I want credit for it. Just say. So again, what's in store for the future?
So with that in mind of like always going all out, we did talk about just kind of taking a step down. Like we still probably gonna go a little bit out, but we wanted to just focus more on scriptural reading, more like going more depth in prayer. I know Father David had some ideas for us. By the way, Father David's always in our meetings and he always kind of guides us.
Well, and nobody says no to that guy. I mean, he's 7'9".
Father David.
He's a big help. It's always nice to have someone to be like, maybe you guys shouldn't do that and do this instead. But we wanted to focus on that.
Yeah.
Some Bible history or something like that. And always kind of add some. I know he wanted to do a nice big fundraiser.
Oh yeah, we have a fundraiser
right.
coming up. We actually want to start going back with the branding situation. We have some cool ideas in mind. So we're actually gonna get some 412 merchandise going on. Some T-shirts. We're trying to do
Stickers.
Yeah, stickers. We're talking about notebooks. We want to create a store at all our events, right? Where we have a 412
412 on
canopy.
Etsy.
Yeah. We want to create a 412 canopy, right? It has our logo on it, and we want to have a little shop, what do you call those when you shop and you go through the racks?
Oh,
A
racks.
rack with our hangers and our merch hanging, and lights, of course. And
Have to save money.
we want to go somewhere and take pictures and model the clothes and so we have some fun stuff coming in mind, so some merch is coming, fundraisers are coming, and like Monsa said, just really cracking down on scripture again and just feeding ourselves there. So it's a balance of everything coming up.
Listening to the word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's amazing because, it's, again, 33, Jesus walked with his 12 and they heard from the word himself, but they hung out.
Yeah, they hang.
And they literally just, I think, Ignatian, spirituality, looking at that, when you look at how did Jesus really walk with 12 people for 3 years? And I'm thinking, camping for 3 years. It's like, with 12 guys, I mean, there must have been a lot of fart jokes. And it was just must have been just a lot of laughing and joy and relational ministry and doing what you guys do, which is amazing because you guys get to know each other. And probably because you are that small group community, that you guys will always be lifelong friends and ministers, even though that, 2 of you guys are, related. But that's what's beautiful about people who lead, is that they can become lifelong ministers. These 3 are going to be the three Marias, praying the Rosario in front of the Santissimo when they're 60. Says, I used to be part of the young adult ministry. I hold my teeth.
Maybe check if I have enough for breakfast.
In my days, we went to Panama. But that's super cute. That's super cool, and that's real. And I think that's what you guys bring about. So again, anything that you want to share with our listeners on how to young adult, not necessarily how to develop a young adult ministry, but how to young adult, how to young adult as a Catholic young adult. Because there's this image that me as a parent and some of the parents out there, it's like, oh, they've joined young adult ministry. They're either going to become a priest, a nun, or really serve the church. And they're carrying around a rosary all the time. And, the image, the typical, stereotypical image of what we desire our kids, is they're praying the rosary every day. And we know what reality is. We don't. And we know that the really religious old ladies don't either. Sometimes they skip. But how is it, how to be a young adult, how to be a Catholic young adult, how do you do that? How do you witness to the faith as a young adult who is Catholic?
Like you said, no one actually follows the script, right? Of like this perfect young adult, right? And this is like me speaking from like my view of like why I'm here. You asked the question like, why are we here on a Friday night, or like what our motive is. And for me, like, I'm not the perfect Catholic, I'm not the perfect young adult, but I have a want to learn. I have a want to stay connected. I have a want to give back, and I have a want to just learn ultimately, right? I love having a community. I love having faith. I love having it's a want. It's a want. And I think for me, with that want, that drive is what keeps me here. And that's how I young adult. No matter what happens in life, to me personally, the ups and downs and there's always for me that want. And I think as long as there's that want, that's the connection between being young and faith, for me at least, is no matter what happens, my ups and downs or whatever happens in life, there's that want to come back. And that's how I young adult, personally, that's me. And so knowing that God is merciful, right? And that no matter what, and whatever happens in life, He's there. And as long as I want, He's here, and there's always a community to come back to. And so that's how I young adult.
I kind of want to add a little bit to what he was saying, because I feel like that's...
You know how they feed off each other.
That's one of the reasons that I really wanted to join the group, just because I felt like we were just friends, and I didn't feel like I needed to be perfect. I'm like, everybody, everybody has their faults, and we're so real about it. Like, did you do this? And no. Okay, good. I didn't do it either. Like, I forgot. And it makes me feel better knowing that I don't have to be perfect, and that we're so open to that, and that we can come to church and pray and be in mass, and that feels so good to sit in mass, with each other. But we can also go and go to dinner and be talking and laughing and doing all this, and we want to go out and do things other than church. We're doing it, but we're doing it together. Like, we're going out and we're gonna go dance, but we're doing it together and we're doing it safely, and still having that friendship outside of church events. Really, I think for me personally, drives me, I guess, to come back, because I'm like, okay, I'm still having my faith, but I have that home here and that family here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. A saint in the making.
I don't know. It's hard when you're alone. Because I know talking about when you lose your faith, I know if I want to do if I want to be a Catholic on my own, it's not going to happen, because I already witnessed that as a college student. It was really hard to be really strong in my faith alone. And then having friends who are not Catholic is really easy to be like, oh, but you're a good person, so why do I need to go to mass if I'm hanging out with good people? But that's not enough. And then but being around this group, we can talk about prayer life, or what things that you're going through, And then they tell you like, oh, you know, I tried this once. Like, go to this church. It's quiet there, more quiet than here. So it's kind of nice. Like, you're just learning more about your faith and things that you didn't know before, prayers that you probably never heard of, and you're becoming more Catholic with your community. And because when you're alone, it's really easy for you to just stop praying, stop believing, and when you see young adults who have a career or who are studying certain things or who probably struggling through life but they're still looking for God, you're like, okay, then I should probably try a little harder too. So and when we have events and we see different people, like different ages, who probably some people who already have family and some people who are engaged or who are married or who are single, and like even though they have their different backgrounds and different struggles, they're always looking for something. And that reminds me, like, yeah, we're all looking for something, and and I'm looking for it by myself, it's going to be harder to find it, but with other people who are also looking for something like higher than us, it's going to be easier and a lot more fun too. A lot more fun, because like we talked about serious things one day, and then one thing we're like laughing, cracking jokes, and we're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And it's like, it's nice because I think people sometimes don't believe I'm a church girl. And then they see me at church and they're like, well, you go to church? And I was like, yeah, these are my church friends. And they're like, oh. And then, and if I didn't have my community of like continue to grow and search and find, like, I don't know, it would be really, it would be a different life.
And the devil attacks you when you're alone. So when you're alone and you're by yourself, you're easily attacked. But when you have friends that you can call on and say, hey, you know what? When's the next meeting? Because I really need it. And you don't have to say anything that you know you're struggling with something. It's just the presence of other people. Just when more than one person is with you, there is the church, and that's what you are, and that's beautiful. And that's the honesty of people who are young adults who will say transparently, you know, this is me, this is how we are. You know, not to say that older people don't do that, but we put on this facade of perfection. No, I'm a Catholic. You know, we don't sin. It's like, you know, we just go to that hospital full of sinners as the one who's taking care of those souls. But you know, it's enlightening to hear that, to hear that, you know, that we do struggle. And you know, we all hate to be alone. And I think that's what the pull is for young adult ministry. Is it's a place where I can go and just be myself and not be judged and be welcomed. And I think aesthetically, you're probably one of the most welcoming young adult ministries. One day I'll come, pretend I'm a young adult.
One thing we do icebreakers in the beginning. Like we make, it's called like bingo, human bingo. We have them get a sheet and they have to talk to someone to find their name. Because a lot of times you go to young adult groups and they're like
awkward.
Like who do I talk to? But we're like, here's a sheet. Go ask around. If they can answer that question, they're like, oh, okay. And then you see everybody kind of mingling. Like they're scared at first, but
we've also learned that we kind of we just incorporated that because I remember every event that we were doing. Like, we're gonna start at 7.
We forget about the event. We're like, wait a minute.
And then it's like 7:20. Oh my! We gotta start.
People are outside.
Just talking, right? Like enjoying everybody's company, right? And it's us too. Like we're the ones that are supposedly having the schedule, and we're the ones out there talking. And so, so we're like, you know, every event that we're having, the first 20 minutes, we're gonna play human bingo or just an opportunity for everyone to socialize. Because we're never even when we give those 20 minutes, we're still late. So
because there could be that one person who someone invited, but the person who invited them didn't show up, and you're like, I'm alone, and no one talks to you, and then you're like,
we put the light on there.
and then they slowly like sneak out, and they never come back. You know.
It also gives an opportunity to get to know the people who are coming. Because sometimes we're so busy, like, oh, this is next, who's next? Did we have enough soda? Did we have enough of this? And we never get to talk to the people. And then with that game, we're like, everybody participates. Take your time.
Super
and we like to talk.
Yeah.
We like talking.
Yeah, we got the ball rolling now. So what else? What else do you guys want to talk about?
I think one thing that was worth mentioning, going a little backtracking to the being welcoming, is like, I think that the fact that we kind of welcome the conversation, like, you kind of going back to like being like the perfect Catholic, right? How do you young adult, especially growing up in the U.S. in California, in Southern California, you know, everything being super opinionated and like really heated. Just like welcoming those conversations and not shying away from them is a big thing that I think we've also done, talking about pro-life, talking about marriage, talking about how to young adult, basically having those responses and how to incorporate your faith in everyday life. And I think just also nothing against, you know, like the traditional Catholics or like the people who are super, you know, pushy and like impose things onto other people, but like you need to have an open mind and like be willing to have a conversation and not just, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I need to say and then not listen to what you want to tell me. You know, just having those conversations and welcoming those conversations and you know, tackling them when you need to tackle them, and just, you know, have a conversation about it and see what the other person thinks, see what I think, and maybe we might even have something in common, and you know, we may be able to find some common ground between that.
Something that disconnected.
Yeah.
I love that, because that's something that we've always tried to say in our podcast and anything in ministry, is the ability to dialogue.
Yeah.
I think there's a lack, especially in our society today, there's a lack of the desire to dialogue. It's just a desire to impose my beliefs on the other person without actually listening to the other person, and minimizing that other person because you're less than, and not being able to dialogue. But dialogue, as one young person told me, is that, yeah, but it's not just dialogue, it's dialogue that's based on truth. And so if we can define what truth is, then we can dialogue. Otherwise, we're just throwing mud at each other. But that's true. I think what, you know, how to young adult is, and you guys are so good with that, is, and especially your generation, is your ability to have that dialogue and openly talk about difficult situations and difficult issues. Because, you know, as your parents, same as my parents, and probably, you know, I got away from that, second generation immigrant, is the fact that I want to have that conversation where our parents don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's probably something that you guys experience is, you know, you bring up something and your parents are like, well, we won't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Yeah. And that's difficult for young adults to not have a place where they can actually discuss those difficult topics. So I'm hoping that you guys do that. We're already doing that, is tackling those really difficult topics so that they have that formed Catholic mindset of what it is to Catholic, not how it is to be that Catholic.
Yeah, I think it's also like really important to you know, question.
Yeah,
because like one of the things, well, when I was a confirmation teacher, well, I guess I am again now. But a couple, like maybe 2 years ago, when I was doing confirmation, I would tell the students, do you have any questions? Like, this is your time to question your faith, to see if you want to be a Catholic. And a lot of them looked like really puzzled and scared. They were like, question my faith? You know, they were growing up, they were taught not to. And I would tell them, no, it's healthy. You know, now that you're in a space where, you know, we can give you the answer, or we can give you some direction. And if I don't have the answer, I'll go look for the answer for you. But I think that's why a lot of the reason we're losing a lot of youth is because they don't have the opportunity to question. They don't have the opportunity to get those answers. They're like, you know, shut down, like you were saying, by your parents, or you know, and then they go ask a question somewhere else, and then they give them this false answer, or you know, this whole discourage them. They're like, oh, why do you want to be Catholic? You know, yeah, why do I want to be Catholic? You know, they don't really care for what I have to say or think. And then, you know, just giving them that space to feel comfortable and safe enough to, you know, ask those questions, and then give them those answers and direction. I think is really good.
And that's how our faith is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be able to. That's literally how our faith is. You know, If you look at any of those synods in the past, I mean, they're pulling each other's beards. We're not pulling beards. They're hitting each other and yelling at each other. And so, because that's where discussion is, there's that passion. So I'm glad that you said that. But here's the thing. Most of those people who are teaching those kids are older people who are set in their ways. Yeah. So that's a challenge to you young adults that maybe you should be teaching so that you can provide that space for the young kids to be able to say, hey, you know what?
We can pass it to Monse, talk a little bit about...
Here's the recruitment, Monse, come on.
Yes, if you're interested in teaching, we have some openings for confirmation here at Lady of Hope. We have a lot of young teachers, and they're very cool if you want to make new friends too. Saturday nights. Saturday evenings.
That's also pretty cool, with the churches. Like, there's a lot of youth-led things. Like, this is all, it's like obviously all youth-led.
Yeah.
The confirmation program is also all youth-led. There's no, like you were saying, the older people who they're just gonna teach you your prayers, they're gonna teach you what the Catholic Church has to say, and you're just gonna listen.
Uh-huh.
And it's
sit down, shut up.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So
trauma.
Got triggered.
That's what I had in confirmation. It was like, we give them a book, you were going through the lesson through the book, and then you went home. There was no questions, there was no activities, no fun, and it being youth led, okay, like kind of what Melissa said in the beginning, something about why would I go to something I don't want? Or what was it that you said?
I wouldn't do something that I wouldn't want to be part of. Like, want to be in.
Just having the youth aspect and the youth input, and even better if it's youth led, I think is really attractive as well. Probably also why we have a lot of traction with the young adult group.
Super cool, because that's one of the things is they're a part of it. It's like I don't know about you guys. It's something that if you're always just being served what they want to give you, you get tired of the same food over and over again. But if you're part of that team that plans and creates that food, she's literally trying to drink out of an empty cup.
I was glad you did that because for a minute I was like, man,
She's literally going, there's nothing in here.
I thought there was for a minute too.
No, but that's the cool part. Asking questions is the best way to adult.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when we had the book during Lent. We challenged everybody to do something for Lent, and we like read this book. It was Judge of the Body. It was a little intense, like hard, like in depth. But we did small groups and had questions, a lot of questions, and that opened up a lot of dialogue.
I'm learning so much.
We got to know each other a little bit more, things we didn't know about each other. We're like, oh, we're like, I'll pray for you. But it was
She's
nice.
like,
And it's funny
I'll pray
'cause
for you.
Always like it always gets really personal.
Yeah.
Even in our like full the mental health talk, there's so many of us in this big old circle, and it gets so personal. Like people are very comfortable opening up to like asking
We're training them
and
to question.
Right. But the comfortability, I think, is so like it's welcoming again, like the whole opening part. I think because we as a leadership are so comfortable with one another, right? And we can talk to each other about anything. Like we've talked about everything, right? And so like when we are in the mix with community that are coming and joining us, I think
they see it.
They feed off of it a little bit because we start talking, and then they're like, oh.
And we allow that space for people to know each other a little bit more, and that before we have like those big events. Because the book club, I think it was really nice because we had smaller groups. And we would switch them every time we met, and then for that month we met every week. And we finished the book, and then we would switch the groups, and then we'll come in a big group, and we were like, okay, I know she's not gonna judge me, so I'm gonna say it in the big group too. And it was just nice.
And I think it does start with us not being afraid to share. That allows them not to be afraid to share. Also.
Like, oh, they're not perfect.
Exactly.
Of course we're not.
Of course we're not.
I think feeling that, I think that's one of the main things, because I feel like I've gone to other events of young adults, and I just feel like, oh, I have to be perfect. Like, I have to sit there and I have to, and here I'm like, oh, okay, yes. Like, I don't have to pretend. I don't have to act like I'm just this perfect person. And I hope that's how people feel when they come to our events, right? Like, that they don't. Like, I hope we're sending that message so they can feel comfortable.
And that's why Lety wore blue. It's just to show that it's not completely perfect.
We accept mistakes here.
She did not get the memo to wear black.
Today's Saturday, we wear black. No, it's Friday.
It's Friday. Yeah. See?
So imperfect. Okay, last words of wisdom.
You can go that way.
Words of wisdom.
I guess I would just say is like be real with yourself. Like be honest with yourself in terms of kind of what Anthony was saying, like what you need and what you want in the moment. I know when I was, or I'm still kind of, on obviously in that journey, but like trying to grow in my faith or trying to learn different things, like I put a lot of pressure on myself in the beginning. Like I need to answer all these questions. I need to have like a Google Doc and like, read catechism, the catechism of the church. And like, I kind of started off like that and that discouraged me. So I would just say like, be real with yourself in terms of what you can take on, like as you're growing in your faith and what you need in the moment. Like I have a book that's like halfway, or like scripture that's like, oh, I'm gonna get back to that next week, or like a podcast, Father Mike Schmidt said, it's like, okay, I'll get back to that, so kind of like in the moment, be able to realize what you need. Like if I need worship music, if I need prayer, if I need meditation in the moment, and not like be so hard on yourself in general. And in general in life, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Popcorn it right over there.
No, I agree. I feel that what we should do is learn about the Catholic faith, because we grow up in a Catholic family thinking that we know it, but as we get older, we start to question it, and sometimes we just tend to leave instead of learning about it. And once you get to learn more and more, you'll fall in love with it. And then, especially with the Eucharist during Mass,
Beautiful.
it's not boring anymore. You actually get to see the true meaning of Mass. The true, how would they say? I know a lot of people say, what can it be with music and this and that? But then once you start to understand it, you don't even want to hear music. All you want to hear is peace and quiet.
Because you've fallen in
Yes.
love.
Yes.
That's love. That's love.
Yeah, that's like hard to top. I feel like that's great. That's great advice. Yeah, but I think just I think what like Anthony was saying, continue to just strive and always want God, because there's always gonna be setbacks and you're gonna have those moments. I know Father David tells us like they're gonna have those low points in the faith, but just keep on striving and keep a good community around. I think that has helped me a lot, being able to I think you had said that earlier, to say like I'm not feeling it right now, like I really need a worship night, or I really need to go to adoration, and there's a difference between going to adoration by yourself and then going with people. So keeping people around you that are also in the faith that can help support you and keep you accountable.
Yeah. Now he goes silent. We couldn't get him to shut up. Mike?
I think just accepting the fact that no one's gonna, live this perfect Catholic life. I mean, not even the Catholic Church could live, it's throughout this 2,000 years of perfect Catholic life, It's also had its ups and downs. And, we're still here today. I think we're still probably the biggest religion in the world. That's for a reason. And I think, just working through your imperfections and accepting them and not shying away from them, like, yes, I'm this way and I'm this way and I do this, but at the end of the day, I'm still Catholic and I can come back to God. Same way as the Catholic Church, yeah, we went through this, we did this, and we might have done a couple things wrong. But at the end of the day, we're here to, help people, reach salvation and accept God as, their true Savior. And how, Tanya was saying, just, if you could see with your eyes what happens during Mass, I think people would really, there'll be a really big paradigm shift if you could visually see what happens during Mass, and just what the Catholic Church has to offer in adoration, in Mass, in community, and then being able to be a part of that and kind of shape yourself and guide yourself with that, being in front of you is really cool. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think just one, like, being authentically you, right? I think that was like one thing as 412 young adult ministry, as us as young adults here in San Bernardino, just being authentically you when it comes to your questions, you as a person. Don't, I think, avoid, right, trying to be that perfect young adult, that perfect Catholic, shy away from certain topics. Like everything that we basically talked about today in this podcast is embrace the imperfection, embrace the doubts, embrace it all, right? And kind of accept, like, it's like us, for example, like, we all accept that we're not perfect. We all accept that we have questions. We all accept all these things, right? We admit it to one another, and we help build each other up. We help answer our questions. We help fill in those doubts, right? And so I think the authenticity of the imperfection is, like, so helpful when it comes to being a young adult, and when it comes to being in a young adult ministry or forming a young adult ministry, is don't shy away from the ugly, I guess you can say. And I'm not saying that imperfection is ugly, but I think a lot of the times, like, people try to put this front, right, that as a young adult ministry, or as young adults, or as Catholics, we have to be perfect. And I think that's what I love about 412, is that I feel it's authentic. I don't know. That's what I feel. So, yeah, authenticity.
For me, would just be have spiritual friends, like the paralytic man who had 4 friends who made a hole in the roof to give him front row seats to Jesus. So I think there's gonna be times in your life where you just don't know where to go, and if you have the spiritual friends who are gonna give you front row seats to Jesus, I think you'll be okay. And so, and also, like, if you want to grow in your faith and you have a lot of questions, don't shy away. And if nobody's there, then I think something that I really, like, learned is, like, be part of the leadership team, because then you have those events where you can invite people to answer those questions, because sometimes you're not the only one. And then when you're in that event and you see them having the same question as you, and then actually amplifying and giving you answers, you're like, wow, this is great. And then also right there you can have more friends too. And it's like, get out there, try to make spiritual friends, and then try to take responsibilities and things too. Don't try to, sometimes we want things to happen to us, like, oh, I need answers, to provide them. It's like, no, go look for them. And sometimes you might have to create an event for you to have those answers be answered that day. And work hard for those answers, because sometimes Satan doesn't want you to have those answers, and so you have to work a little harder, and you have to pray a lot, and you have to have good friends, spiritual friends. But yeah, that's
Just
it.
throwing out wisdom right here. You know, being real in the real presence of Jesus Christ, showing our own imperfection, you know, being transparent, having spiritual friends, and understanding that we are imperfect, but we are perfected in Christ. And we truly have the real presence in the Catholic Church, and understanding that we are loved. And He desired us before we even knew our Lord. So I love this conversation that we had, and I'm truly inspired by what you guys are doing. And I look so much forward to seeing what's more in store for you guys, and seeing those images that you put out and the craziness. Because if this is the conversation that you have in your planning, I'm pretty sure that you guys are on the way to, yes, sainthood. Because you're really, really doing what it is that is small faith group community, which is you're walking with each other. And that's beautiful. I want to thank you guys for accepting the invitation, although it took almost a year, to come on the show.
Our thing
Yes.
is that we blame it on COVID.
That's true. That's
COVID and
true.
inflation.
I think it was the first time I was like, oh, cool. because some of our young adults went to 412.
Yeah.
I think it was the paint. However long that painting thing that you guys did, that was when the first time we connected. Yeah.
It was okay. It's not a year yet, but it was almost a year.
I was like, so cool. We should get them on the podcast. Oh, yeah, left us on red. They just left us on red.
No way.
Yes. Go scroll back.
Apologies. I'm so sorry.
But then I was like, yeah, one day they all come eventually. You know, like-
No, it's really good. It's the balance too, because I feel like you have the we have our 412. A couple of us have access right to the 412 page, but then I think that's another thing. I don't mean to dive back in, but like balancing, right? Balancing like our own.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are at school or working, and then we have young adult ministry, and I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, that's for Fridays.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was very easy to think that way, like, oh, that's for this specific day. So I think, again, I apologize.
and no apologies needed, because this is perfect. Because if we would have done that, it would have been on Zoom, and I hate Zoom podcasts because because we can't talk over each other on Zoom. The only thing that comes out when you talk over each other on Zoom is nobody hears anything. You can't even throw anything at anyone. But here, because we waited almost a year, you have a room. Yeah, you actually have a room and you have a space.
Furniture. We need some.
Sponsors again.
We do have a round table, our old podcast round table, and 4 office chairs. It was donated by a principal. You guys didn't have it. It's a Pomona Unified School District. If you're looking for that table, we're trying to give it away. It might be your table for podcasting because it actually we made holes on it.
An aesthetic vibe.
Oh my god.
Maybe you paint it black because it's a nice, beautiful brown.
Oh, yeah. We don't have anything burning.
We just need storage for furniture. Look at all. We need to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
But this has been a wonderful experience for me. I don't know about you guys, but this, you guys inspire many people who are listening out there who are seeing you, maybe emulating what you guys are doing in their ministries. And I think that's what's important, is that when we share out there what you're doing as a faith community, that the greatest accolade is when someone copies what you guys are doing and has a desire to do. It's like, I want to do what they're doing. And being invited by other communities to say, hey, can you teach us how you do that? Or even having other young adults come to your events and you going up to other events, because that's what we in on this podcast are always encouraging, is to connect other groups to other groups, because it's different. And if you only know your community and you move on, you're like, they're totally different over there, but they're still Catholic. And when you meet other communities, then we become truly universal. And so that's why I always encourage people, if you are near anywhere or you'd like to join 412, check them out. The most aesthetically pleasing Instagram site in the Diocese of San Bernardino. And I'll put this out there. If you guys in Diocese of San Bernardino, the Ministry for Young Catholics, you guys got to fix that logo. Me no likey.
Not for 12, okay?
Not 412. That's personally me. I'm like, it's a little plain. Maybe you guys should like contact 412 and say, hey, how do we make this more aesthetic?
Yours as your young adult planning committee for the diocese.
So,
But definitely reach out to us. Join us. Join us.
Yeah,
We
join
invite
them.
everybody to join us. Our social media is at 412.youngadults. We're here in San Bernardino off of Del Rose and Highland. And we're in San Bernardino. It's very fun and safe here. Where we are, I promise you, you're safe and we're going to have a great time. So come and join us.
And you guys gather when?
Every third Friday of the month.
Every third Friday of the month is when we're gearing up for the rest of our...
So if you guys want to see any of these young people and the other ones who are missing, who we didn't get to meet, come to their events. That's 412 in San Bernardino, Our Lady of Hope Faith Community. That's where they are, and this is where they are serving, teaching the faith, and actually serving the faith and living out the faith as young Catholics. Not saying that that any of the other young Catholics aren't living out their faith, but but join, because this is amazing. I love your story. I love what you guys are doing. I love the vibe. Shout out to Father Tomas Guillen. The vibes. Gotta make sure you text him about the same vibes. It's the vibes. Shout out to Father Tomas of St. Oscar Romero. Yeah. On that note, fam, that's all we have for this episode. We can continue on and talk forever with this group, but we are at an hour and a half already and didn't even realize it. I looked, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's an hour and a half. So on that note, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about what Anthony said or what Lety said, the only one in blue, send us a DM on our Instagram or send me an email with that comment or complaint at catholic.dad50@gmail.com. If you also want to subscribe to our YouTube channel and any of our where they play the podcast, I don't know what they're called, do so. We'd appreciate it. And if you want to support the podcast, go to our Patreon /thisconnected and support us for as little as $1. None of that money comes to us. It goes directly to any youth ministry who is needing any funds. So all your help and support goes to supporting the growth of youth and young adult ministries in the Diocese of San Bernardino. So please be generous to us so that we can be as generous to our young people. On that note, that's all we have. And as always, we say, live a life of holiness. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us. And as always, be blessed and be third.
Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise of different generations of the girls and boys. So sit back and relax, this the podcast. Don't overreact if these thoughts are abstract. When it's hosted by Catholic Dad, who knows what's gonna happen?
Hey, what's up, fam?
Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected.
What's up, fam? To connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way.
Expect runaway thoughts like a runaway train. Break into conversation like links of a chain. Make a Hail Mary pass, hope this connects. Have a question for a guest, put it to rest. Live a life of holiness, lead by example. Follow at Catholic.Dad and Mini Tangled. Christ leads our way, he's the good shepherd. Pray for one another, be blessed and be there. Different points of view and highs and lows, a new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected.
See you next time. Yeah. Bye. Have some coffee.
What was that? Oh, it's so hot.
Turn it off.
Yay! An hour and 30 minutes.
Hour and 30 minutes.